Hi, this is Nicole Rivera, and you're listening to the Stop Writing Alone podcast. Before I get started with the episode itself, I need to ask a question. So reach out to me after the episode to let me know, do you miss the intro? One time last year, I produced an episode and for some reason completely forgot to put the intro on. I had little music, and if you've been listening, longer than a couple of months, you will remember there was like music and an intro to the podcast every single episode. And I just did this, when I listened back to the episode where I forgot, it was like this cold open of, hi, this is Nicole Rivera, and you're listening to the Stop Writing Alone podcast, and got into it. And I was like, that's not that bad, I guess. Because I thought, should I go back and fix it? So no, now there's an intro of, you're listening to the podcast. Let's get started. And the episodes aren't quite as long for people that are just trying to move on with their life. But if you are desperately missing a little musical intro and a musical outro to the Stop Writing Alone podcast experience, please let me know. I may either return to the original or create a new one. But yeah, I don't feel the need as much with the intro as the outro. I feel like I say goodbye and then that's all over. But either way, let me know. And, there's all different ways that you can reach out to me. But definitely if you're on the Stop Writing Alone network, the direct messages there, I get the notifications immediately. So that was my question. I said I've got to ask before I continue, and I can ask around in Happy Campers, and I can ask in Stop Writing Alone community events, but you are the Stop Writing Alone podcast listener right now, and you're the one that I want to know if it bothers you that there's no music as you enter and exit this episode experience. So let me know. Now on to the topic of this week: self-sabotage and breaking streaks. Earlier in the week, we had a conversation at the Happy Campers Club it was our goal setting meeting, and I was talking about setting long-term goals and short-term goals. And one of the writers had said, I really just don't like setting long-term goals for myself anymore across the board. Not even just writing, just I find that long-term goals don't work for me because I'm too good at self-sabotage. And I mean, you know me, I'm a very, very flexible person, right? So I'm always looking for what works for the individual. So if setting a long-term goal is going to be counterproductive to you showing up to your writing in a way that is productive, then you don't need to set a long-term goal, right? We can do this week by week, and we'll just go through it and assess at the end and see, did that work? However, this idea of self-sabotage and this conversation around self-sabotage got me really thinking about what is self-sabotage really, and how can we combat it, if we can combat it at all. So typically, when I'm faced with self-sabotage myself, or somebody is talking about an experience that they had with self-sabotage, it's usually in that vein of, I told myself I was going to do X, Y, and Z. And don't you know, as soon as I got to Y, I decided I wasn't going to do it anymore. Or, I got in my own way and I didn't do it. So I never finished. And for me, I started to recognize that this idea of streaks, writing every single day, showing up for something consistently over and over again, was great until the day I didn't do it, right? So I don't know if everybody is familiar with the story, but one of the urban legends of writing, and I don't even think I think it's just truth, right? Jerry Seinfeld, the comedian, had a calendar on his wall, supposedly, as the story goes, that he had all these red X's on. And somebody asked him, like, what's the deal with the red X's? What's the deal, Jerry? And it basically was, or is, that Jerry Seinfeld wakes up every single morning and writes for, I want to say 3 hours. I don't have the story in front of me, but I feel like it was, he woke up very early. He wrote 3 hours every day. And every time he finished the 3 hours, he put a red X on his calendar. And so if you went to his house, you would see this calendar with red X's all over it. And for him, it was a great way to, as any of us, right? If you show up that much to your work, you're going to get all the crap out. And so that when you show up to the stage, or for us to the page, what is left, you can filter out all the crap, right? So he was doing the work. He was showing up. And any writer or comedian or performer, anyone that hears this story is like, that's the way to do it, man. That is the way to do it. I just show up in this consistent daily way. And then I know that I'm getting all the crap out, and I can really just always give my best. And I know many writers that have said, I'm going to do that. I'm going to write every single day. And they get the X's and they get the calendar and they keep going. And then something happens on some day that they can't do it. And they say, I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. Now, I don't know Jerry Seinfeld. I've never seen his calendar. Is there a possibility that somewhere on his calendar there is a day that has no red X? I think that's possible. Is it possible that there is no day with a blank? Of course, that's also possible, but not every person is like that. And you have to know what kind of person you are. And at a certain point, if you are a person that has a random blank box in the midst of 20-something other days of showing up, you can't call that self-sabotage. What I think starts happening with us is that, let's say I start the month of March. What are we up to now? The 10th of March? And I write every single day. I write the 1st through the 10th, and then something happens on the 11th. I mean, life happens, right? Life happens. And I don't write on the 11th. And I don't even think about it. Like, it's just a crazy day. Nothing happens. And I wake up on the 12th, and I look at my calendar, and I say, oh, no, I did not get my red X. I did not write on the 11th. I think all of that panic, all of that beating up of self, that horror, that is the self-sabotage. Not the blank day, not the missed day. That's not self-sabotage. That's just life. Sometimes something gets in the way. And I think how we conquer self-sabotage is that we wake up on the 12th, we see the blank on the calendar, and we say, damn it. God damn it, I didn't do it. I better write today. Let me start again. Because it was still important to me to write every single day, or to do whatever it was that I said I would do in my goal. See, this is the thing. It's not always about streaks. It's about whatever the goal is. So this one writer said, I don't like setting any long-term goals because I self-sabotage. But is the self-sabotage missing a day of doing whatever you said you were going to do? Or is it saying, because I missed that day, I can no longer accomplish this goal? That, to me, is the problem. And I say it from so much experience. And I say it with this instilled hope that that is something I can control. I can't control life. I can't control the things that get in the way and the reason why I didn't get the red X on that certain day. Most of the time, whatever it was that came at you in that day that you couldn't get it done is outside your control. But what you can control is how you react to it. And that is, to me, the essence of the self-sabotage and the cure. Because if we can look at it and say, life happens, it is great when I can hold the streak and keep going every single day. It is great when I can accomplish my goal every single day. All of those things are wonderful. And it sucks when I can't. There's no toxic positivity here, right? I'm not going to say like, it's fine that you didn't get it done. No, it totally sucks when you couldn't keep it up for whatever reason. But that doesn't mean you can't just go back to it. It just doesn't. And I feel like the self-sabotage that hurts us most is that voice inside that says, I wasn't able to do it, so why did I even try? I shouldn't do it again. That's not something I can do. You can do it. You can do it. Maybe you can't do it 30 days out of the month. Maybe you can do it 24 days out of the month. And isn't that amazing? Isn't that amazing to be able to do that? Why isn't that enough? So I just wanted to come to you with that this week, because this is that time of year. It's March. And how many people do you know that set up a New Year's resolution in January and they say, this is what I'm going to do for the year. And they start off strong. And I'll be honest with you, I wasn't in a lot of these conversations at the beginning of the year. I had COVID at the beginning of the year, so I don't know if people gave up on New Year's resolutions this year or not. But I didn't hear the conversations. But typically, in the past, it's around March when people's New Year's resolutions are like dead. They're just done. And for me, and I've talked about this in previous years, that's never been too much of a problem, because I have like these different points of year where I like do New Year's resolutions again, and they always revert back to my experience in education. So yeah, New Year's is a great time to set up a goal and a resolution because everybody's doing it. It's a whole brand new year. But another great time for me in my teacher/student brain is the end of the school year, because I got the whole summer. Let me see, what can I do now? And another great time is the beginning of the school year. Oh, it's a new school year. What can I do? Like, I'm just constantly doing it so that if it doesn't work out, I don't have to wait till next January. And the thing is, no one has to wait till next January. You can always start over with whatever your goal was and say, I'm going to start again today, see where what I can accomplish, and see what works for me. Like, that's the twofold thing. And this is the thing that we talk about all the time in the Happy Campers, because we do weekly goals. And one of the things that I always ask is, what worked this week? What didn't? How does that change what you're doing moving forward? So even though I asked everybody about their long-term goals this week, I'm totally aware and open to those goals changing 8 different times over the next 8 weeks, because you learn how you work, what's going on, and does that goal make sense? And when I say change, it can go in both directions. You know, maybe your goal wasn't big enough. You learn in the first week, like, hell no, I can write a lot more when I put my mind to it. I'm making my long-term goal even bigger than what I set out to. But it could go the other way. Like, whoa, this spring, life is getting really nuts. This is not the year for me to say that I'm going to get, or this is not the month for me to say that I'm going to get all of this done. Let me just reassess, pull it back a little bit, and reassess at the end. But not say, because I didn't get it done today, that means I am not a person that can get it done. That is self-sabotage, and that is something that you can control. That is something you can control. I think too many people put that moment of not accomplishing something as the self-sabotage, when in fact it is the conversation that you have about that moment that is the self-sabotage. And I think it comes up a lot when we try to do streaky things, we try to do things in a row, but it's really at any goal, falter, fumble, whatever the heck you want to call it. And I'm not going to say that I'm perfect at it, but I recognize now when I'm in that mental conversation and I try to release myself from it, and I've been able to accomplish a lot more with my life across the board. And that goes for right now. I think I mentioned it in previous episodes, but right now, I'm taking care of myself physically in a way that I haven't done in years, because of this new self-sabotage conversation, because this is a place where I was still doing that type of talk, where I had, this is the new workout I'm going to do. I'm going to show up every day for it. And, there's a day where I'm not feeling well and I don't do it. And then I say, well, because that's me. I can't handle it. I'm not doing this anymore. This time I just haven't allowed it. I just said, okay, I needed a day of rest, and I will show up again tomorrow. And so now I am for anybody that's familiar with I'll just let you know what I'm doing. I don't even know when I started. Whenever I felt like COVID wasn't totally consuming all of my physicality, I was so frustrated with feeling so poorly. I started the Couch to 5K program, which I've done twice before. And if you're not familiar with it, it's simply like you go from being couch potato to you can supposedly run a 5K. Not me. I'm not going to be running. I'll be bouncy walking is what I call it. But anyway, I'm on week 7 now. Next week I'm done with it. You know, I've been able to do it for 7 weeks straight, showing up. And I did have an injury to my foot in the middle of it. I think it was week 3, which is around the time that things start to like the self-sabotage comes in. And I did start to have that mental conversation of, here you go, Nicole, just like always, you hurt yourself because you can't handle this. Why did you think you could do this time? And I just started like, believe it or not, social media saved the day. I started seeing a lot of different like celebrities and fitness people and noticing their conversations around injuries that they had and how they were working through it. And I'm like, wait a minute. These people were hurt and they kept going. That's never what I've done. Anytime I've gotten hurt, I've stopped cold. So I was like, but wait, they don't just like muscle through, because I've made that mistake before. They've talked to professionals. They've done things differently. They've adapted so that they could keep going. And so that's what I did for about a week. I really just took it really light on my foot. I made sure I did all the stretches I needed to do. I got ice, I got heat, I got all the things that I needed to do, but I kept moving forward a little bit at a time as I did so. And no more foot pain. It's over. I kept moving. And to me, it's like, oh no, I can clearly see that that's a place where I would have self-sabotaged. Not because I hurt my foot, which is what that's this old story I've been telling myself. I can't do things because I get injured. Because the conversation would have been exactly that. I can't do things, I get injured, I have to stop. And instead of stopping, I said, well, how do I move forward with this injury? And now how do I be careful moving forward? And that's how you have to look at your writing goals. You know, if you stop, if you miss something in your writing goal, you don't just muscle through and say, I'll do it anyway. I'm going to keep showing up to writing every day, even though I'm exhausted, I'm not eating, I'm taking away from my social life, my family, or what have you. No, this is not a plan in suffering, right? We take a look at our life and we say, okay, what do I need to keep moving forward? Do I need to do it every single day, or do I need to do it every single weekday, and maybe, you know, make sure I rest on the weekends or something? You know, what is it that got in your way, and how do you adapt for that and move forward? And then you have the long haul. You constantly have to be learning about yourself in this process to be a better writer, to be a better self, to be a whole person showing up to the page. Writers, I mean, this is true for everybody, but writers have to be their full selves at all times. That's how you can tell your stories. So make sure you are guarding against that. And that is really that's my jam right now. My learning about what self-sabotage really is. And maybe you already knew this, but for me, it was like such an aha that the self-sabotage is not the moment of failure. It is the reaction to that failure and the conversation around that failure. And we can change that. And that's good news. So I hope that helps you. If it does help you, let me know. Also, don't forget that big question at the top of the episode. Do you miss the music coming in and out of the episode every single week? Or are you good with just getting to the conversation? It is an audio format. It kind of feels weird that I don't have some melodies in here, but you know, we're here for talk. So maybe that's enough. That's it. That's all I got for you. I will say that this week in our casual chat at Happy Campers, I did the really ridiculous thing of the big question of the week was, what is the last great thing you read or are reading now? And I have this enormous list of books that I now feel like I need to read. So I hope to be putting them together on the Stop Writing Alone bookshop page so that I can add you to the misery of having this huge TBR list along with me. But tomorrow is Friday, so that is Fiction Friday for me. So you will get a new short story over on storyhoarder.substack.com. If you've been following along with my YA novel, Girl Unplugged, Chapter 7 went up on Wednesday, and that is a big chapter. That is when the big thing happens in the world that changes my girl, gets her unplugged, as it were. So definitely one of my, I got all nostalgic when I reread it. I'm like, oh, this is the moment. So story's going to start ramping up as we move forward now and have lots of conflict. And if you've missed the story, there's a page on the Substack where you can see all the chapters as they roll out. And finally, I think that was it. Oh, no. Friday also means you're going to get a brand new prompt over on the MV Rivera YouTube channel. So if you need inspiration for writing, if you're trying to do your 52 stories in 52 weeks, make sure you get on over there to get your brand new prompt. And otherwise, I will talk to you next Thursday. Have a fabulous week. Happy writing. Change your self-sabotage conversation and let me know how you're doing with all your writing goals this year over in the Stop Writing Alone Network, where you can also join the Swap 52 Club, which is where we're going to start our conversations about writing these 52 stories in 52 weeks all year long. Have a great week. Talk to you next Thursday.